College Football Update with your host, Sean Spencer and Alex Loosemore.
College football storylines. We touched on a story a week ago. My dear Catherine came on here and talked about her guys and, talked about Michigan State and what's going on with them currently. And currently, looks like he's going to get fired, Alex. It looks like they're going to give him the axe. I don't think any information came out that changed things. What are your thoughts on this finally going through that process?
I think this is a cop-out to get their money back. I think this is fully what it is because the more I look into it, that phone call where they're saying all this stuff transpired, came out that it was a 36-minute phone call, and it didn't happen at the end.
Yeah.
So you're trying to tell me all that was non-consensual and you stayed on the phone that long after?
Right.
That's a little questionable. I think this is just a way for them to get their money back, and I don't think this is the end of it, because if they do fire him here, I'd put money on the fact that Mel Tucker's going to sue them and go after them for it.
Okay. Because realistically, like we said, we alluded to that last week. The guy went 11-2. You guys jumped out ahead of everything and gave him the contract. Respect, but then he hasn't had the recruits. He really has not lived up to what I guess they expected from him, winning 5 games each of the last 2 years, maybe
something like that.
Yeah. So he's really struggled. But at the same time, you're like, well, this year he didn't start off awful. You know what I mean? He started off 2-0. Against lesser competition, but still, you didn't even know if you're going to have a quarterback.
Central Michigan isn't a slouch.
Well, right. They haven't played as great this year as I expected. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see, because I kind of agree with you. Nathan saying politics. Look, at the end of the day, we all feel the same way, whether you like Michigan State or not. That contract that they gave him after one season,
it was insane.
It was ridiculous. I'm sorry. In my opinion, he hadn't warranted that contract, and for them to give that to him was on their part. But now it looks like they're trying to come back and renege and say, this happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like Kat said, I think it's kind of rough because of the fact that there is a history of that. So this is kind of something you can throw and say, hey, we don't want this here. But it's like, did that really happen? This ain't the same thing. So,
yeah, I totally understand why they're doing it. Like you said, with the backstory, with everything going on. But at the end of the day, you're firing somebody with just cause, but we don't know if it is just cause.
Yeah.
Right? You're deeming it way too early. You scheduled a hearing for, if I'm not mistaken, it was early October, and now you're just going to get rid of him before it. This is super questionable to me. And I like Mel Tucker as a coach. I was kind of sad when he went to Michigan State, because I was like, damn, he might build something. Obviously, he hasn't necessarily continued that way, but if it comes out that he isn't in the wrong for this, then I feel so bad for Mel Tucker. But if it is all true, then he deserves it. So it's like I said last week, it's very much a wait and see game.
But look, that was not the only major story that has came out. As a matter of fact, we almost had a changing of the guard in the SEC, and I got to bring in my guy. I visited him at the beginning of the year. I've seen his team up close and personal, Mr. Will Kramer. What up, Will?
What's going on, fellas? How we doing tonight?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, doing well. Doing well. What are you wearing, Sean?
Okay. I got undefeated teams on. Washington and North Carolina, baby. Undefeated. Let's go.
Notice I have my Lions stuff on.
It doesn't matter how they win. All that matters is they walk away with the win, right?
Let's go. Let's get it.
Absolutely.
Let's get it. And listen, with that being said, that is exactly what I would have said had you guys been able to pull it out. Unfortunately, South Carolina, we can only say they almost shocked number 1 Georgia. But Will, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it because everybody was on pins and needles once you saw halftime and it was 14-3, and you hit me up like, come on, Sean, what are you doing? And I just felt like one of those other 8 players, during a perfect game. Not going to say nothing.
You did.
Not going to say a word to him. Will, talk to me, man. How'd you feel?
I know, because I asked you for some moral support during the game. I was sitting there going like, are you watching this? Like, I'm getting hyped over this. So here, I'll be honest with you. And this is the way I felt, and I'm sure the team felt this way. I was way more excited and fired up going into this game than I was for the game 3 weeks ago, the opening kickoff against North Carolina, just because of the rivalry differences, and stuff. So, like, as exciting as it was to have you down here and us go, it was like it's going to be fun regardless. Whereas, like, on last Saturday, it was like, let's go. And that also is because while the wins and losses does not suggest it's a rivalry. When these two schools get together, I mean, the fans come out, they turn out. It is a big deal to the fans, and so there was a buzz, about this game, and so I certainly think that helped the start of the game and the fact that South Carolina came out firing. I also think there's a reason why Juice Wells should have played against North Carolina, but he's been hurt. He did not play against Furman for a reason. They were holding him back to unveil him for this game, saying this is where we want you. And so it was great to see him out there. It was also crushing when your first drive, you score a touchdown with him, and then that's it for the rest of the game. You're like, he's the biggest playmaker, even though everyone has now heard about Xavier Legette. Like, Juice is the bigger playmaker, and you saw the impact. So that was tough, but it was great to see them compete, to be honest, because they've gotten ran out against Georgia before. Last year, people were pretty fired up for this game, and I think it was like 21-0 in like the first quarter. And so the fact that they were able to compete and they competed, they won the first half. They went into they basically, Shane Beamer said this. He was like, we said the goal was to get to the fourth quarter. If we can get to the fourth quarter, then anyone can win the game. And they were there. And even while down, they were inches from making first downs and moving the chains. So I want to be cautious, because I want to be like, I never really think you should be celebrating a loss. And unlike the professional ranks where you basically are, teams go 60% is considered a good season. College is the opposite, where you're winning 80% of your games and more is really considered a good season. So I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, what a great loss that was. But it was a really exciting game, and they hung with the number 1 team in the country, 2-time national championship back-to-back, and they gave a ride, and that's not nothing.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not nothing. And Alex, I'm gonna come to you, but Will, I mean, let's be very honest right now. What are some of the things that we said in that first game? You didn't have a strong O-line, and they played their butts off in a good portion of that game. You have an absence of a running game, and still Spencer Rattler had that team moving the ball down the field. And look, I understand what the score says late, but like you said, even in the second half, they weren't totally getting shut down. A couple penalties got you guys behind the sticks. And then obviously, like you were telling me, Spencer was doing it all by himself at one point. Once it started raining, there's nothing we could really do.
That's why I was like, turn the lights out.
Right. So, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, because is this more about how, what a game South Carolina had, or is this more big question marks in Athens?
I don't know that it's necessarily question marks in Athens. I think there's definitely something to take away on both sides. South Carolina, I mean, like we've said, you were going toe-to-toe with the number 1 team in the country for 3 quarters. You guys are right there. You were, if I'm not mistaken, you guys were, 9 wins last year?
I think 8.
8?
I think 8.
But still, you went toe-to-toe with a very good Notre Dame team and beat them in that bowl game. toe to toe with these guys. Like, you guys are right on that precipice again. Might not be quite the level you guys have with like Clowney and them, but you guys aren't far off. To the way Spencer is playing, my Lord, he's balling out. This is some of the best ball we've seen him play. And I mean, I know if you look at the box score, through 2 picks, this and that, but like we said, he has no O-line essentially. He has no running game. So they know that you're passing, and they're going to send the dogs at you. I mean, literally in this case. And and he balled out. Like, he went toe-to-toe with Carson Beck and the rest of Georgia. And I think for Georgia, the main thing to take away is the gap might not have been as wide as you thought it was.
Yep.
This is a season where we were asking, can they do the three-peat? And off the start, everyone was like, yeah. Now it's, can they do the three-peat? Like, is this really something that's possible? Because, I mean, Florida State's playing out of their mind. Penn State's playing out of their mind. Michigan's a good team. We haven't really played anybody yet, so I'm holding off on them. But we've seen some really, really good teams play some really good competition and put them in their place.
Yeah.
Georgia's got to watch out this year.
Yeah, absolutely, especially going into SEC play. But look, back to I got to talk about your guy Spencer, because I've been somebody that when he was at Oklahoma, I questioned his character, I questioned his ability to play. Anytime he started getting behind, I was like, nope, he's gonna pull out. I already know it. Since he's been under Beamer, he's been balling, and like you said, this year, I mean, the guy almost has 1,000 yards in just those 3 games.
3
you know,
games,
he's at
There's
954.
only 2 people that have hit 1,000.
Who do you know? Because I know you know most people. Who is
Sam Hartman and Shedeur Sanders.
Wow,
Pretty good company.
Yeah,
Could be chasing right now.
exactly. And look, we've seen Sam Hartman and we've seen Shedeur Sanders and their offenses. They have weapons. They have weapons all over the field. But like you said, Juice is your main guy. And for the most part of this season, Will, he's been out. Shout out to Leggett. All I knew in week 1 was number 17. Who is that number 17? I just got to get this guy. But he is a playmaker, and I'm glad he's getting his attention. But at the end of the day, you know you don't want to celebrate a loss. But there was a part there. I can't repeat some of these messages you sent me. But you were hyped. You were hyped. You were like, that's right. That's right. That Fred rookie quarterback. You want it.
I mean, like we said, you don't want to celebrate a loss, but that's one that you don't hang your head on. That's one where they've got that saying, like, chin up. That's one where those South Carolina players, while you lost, should be proud of the way you played.
Right. Well, and it's so I want to start with talking about Rattler, because you're right. Like, I mean, what we saw out there is continues his progression, and it really changed at the end of last year, where they no longer have the offensive coordinator they had last year, and he's the offensive coordinator in Nebraska. And guess whose offense sucks? Like, there's a common theme here. And all of a sudden, at some point, like late in November, either Beamer told the offensive coordinator, you're not coming back, or he took the reins and said, we're going to change our play calling. But something flipped, and it was the Tennessee, and they got destroyed by Florida. And that was like, we got to do something. And then they came out and played really well against Tennessee, played really well against Clemson, won those 2 games, played really well against Notre Dame, and the offense got going, and Rattler came alive. And you saw that on Saturday, some of the same offense from the end of the previous season. Some of it has to do with the fact that they don't have a good running game, and they basically in this game, unlike the North Carolina game, because Sean, I kept saying this, I was like, abandon the run. Just give up on it and go. And they did. They would do a couple times against Georgia, but they pretty much said, listen, it's not going to work. Let's go with it. And they had to do that against Clemson. And that's what it took, because you kept having too many negative plays. And so I like a little bit more aggressive play calling that they had against Georgia, and Rattler's been playing, phenomenal. And I've stayed quiet because I saw those last couple games and I was like, this guy's something. He's a level of player that I've never seen down here for this team. I've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks, I can tell you that. And I've even like as good as a winner as Connor Shaw was when he played here, he didn't have the ball skills the way Rattler can throw it. And so I've stayed quiet. But as we talk about NFL prospects, I've been sitting there like, listen, if I see what I saw at the end of the season into this season, like we need to be considering how could he be a first round pick, a second round pick, one of the add to the list of quarterbacks that are coming out in this draft that are just studs. I mean, this is the year in the NFL to not be good. Because if you need a quarterback, they're coming out of college.
Yeah.
Or if you got an older quarterback, you might try and trade up and get one.
I mean,
That's
so I think we've seen a progression of him to say, like, I mean, I think the nation's starting to see a little bit more. There were more people, on that Let's Talk Football chat. They were like, all right, I've seen a lot from him in this game. And that was good for him because he's been progressing. But like you said, holding, chin up there, they started a true freshman at left tackle in Athens, Georgia.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he got named, I think, SEC Freshman of the Week. Now, maybe because not many freshmen are playing, but the fact is you were on the road and performed well. Like they don't have a good offensive line. It still continues to be an Achilles heel, but they're bringing in some pieces. I'll kind of pause after I say this because, Alex, you talked about the gap getting smaller. And they know what they need to beef up on, and the offensive line is one of them. And they had 2 freshmen this year. Tree's already in there. The other guy's out for the season. He just got hurt. They've got 2 more coming in next year. So they're bringing in the folks to compete because eventually in the second half they wore down, and that can be expected if you've got a freshman out there. They don't have the strength, but they're getting closer and closer to what they were back in 2010s when you mentioned the Clowney days, and it was a fun game to go to.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I see the message you just sent, Alex. About there's 5.
So there's actually 5 quarterbacks over 1,000 yards. Wherever I got that other info from was wrong. So first is Michael Penix. I don't know how I forgot about him. 1,332 yards. Shedeur Sanders is second, 1,251.
Jeez.
The third one is from Hawaii. Braden Shager with 1,103.
Wow.
Fourth is AJ Swan, somebody we've talked about multiple times, Vanderbilt. 2 yards behind Shager, 1,101. And Sam Hartman's fifth with 1,061. There's a couple of guys just behind.
And I'll be honest with you, I've heard you all talk about him, and I have been I don't want my NFL team going after him, but he has played a whole lot better this year. So, and maybe a situation where I didn't think he was that great of a passer at Indiana. And so I didn't buy it watching at Washington. It's like, I'm sleeping during those games.
Pac-12 at night, baby.
Yeah. Not me. So, but he's certainly doing a lot better. So I've got my eyes on him as well. Just like maybe in the opposite situation on the East Coast. Now, some people got some eyes on Spencer going, oh, what are we seeing here?
Like, Oh yeah. Well, look, I the first time I really saw him, because I had the same thought as you, man. The 2 years ago he had that one during the pandemic season. He had the one play against Penn State or something where he's diving towards the goal line.
The picture on our Going for 2 video. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, And so that was the only knowledge I had. I didn't get big on him till our guy RG3 called the Michigan State Washington game last year. And Penix, that was his coming out party, and he coined the phrase "Big Penix Energy."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, RG3 likes him. Okay." But this guy has such a pretty deep ball. He's got 2 of the best wide receivers in the country right now. He's playing himself into definitely a first round pick. And I think with him. It's just like Hendon Hooker. It's just like Graham Mertz and what he's doing. Spencer Rattler. You get these guys with a different coach. You get them in a different atmosphere where maybe they are now the center of attention and people are trying to build and put into them. We've seen something different because I felt the same way when I first saw him. I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie.